since the year 2000, and we provide technology solutions for media convergence, which means that we provide a lot of software products and services to the media industry for pay TV, internet media, radio, cinema, and for traditional TV as well, for advertisers and associated service providers. Its digital media team engages in consultancy, software development, and support services. We also do mobile app services. We also provide e-commerce platforms. So if there is any need, you know who you can reach out to. Today, we have a very special session. Our session is on product innovation, which leads to digital transformation in any enterprise. And today we have with us entrepreneurs, and this event is being moderated by Sachin Gopalan. Hi, Sachin, welcome, and thank you.
Hi, Poonam, thanks a lot.
So this product innovation is all about how we can ensure that a business is creative and agile enough to keep its leading edge, and how we can collaborate with suppliers, partners to create visibility of our entire supply chain. So Sachin, over to you.
Thank you, Poonam, for a lovely introduction and also a little bit of background on what Infotech does. I'm a big fan of Infotech. I know you guys for many years, and I think you've been doing some great work in Indonesia. So that's good to know that you're now helping put together the community of people who are actually making a big difference in this space. So I'd like to actually welcome everybody. First of all, thanks for joining today's panel. We like to have our panels to be like a bit of a discussion. So, you're free to contribute, ask questions. The way to do that would be two. One is that if you'd like to unmute yourself and put on your video and ask the question, you're welcome. Or if you prefer that you put it into the chat box, then I'll read it out from the chat box, and then I'll interact with the speaker whom you have directed that question to. So I'll be happy to do that. So at any point of time, if you have any questions, please use the chat box. Towards the end, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So if you'd like to actually give some comments or some observations of your own, you're most welcome. That is the reason why I like to keep these sessions into a small group so that we are able to have meaningful discussion. For the larger audience, this video is actually available on Poonam's website, Infotech website, as well as it's on YouTube and a few other platforms. So the larger audience would then watch what was discussed after the event is actually done.
Right.
So I'm going to actually get started. The topic is actually very interesting because, digital product innovation is actually at the center of all the digital transformation that you're seeing today. I think if you recall all the products that you used last year on your mobile phone, just look at your mobile phone, all the apps that you had last year, and then 1 year later today, how different is it? You'll find that maybe the apps are the same, but the products have gone through a big innovation cycle. It is no longer the same features or functions. So it's not just about having new apps or new products in the market, but the same products have improved, taken on a bigger role, has understood the process of how customers perceive the product. All that feedback input has gone to making it bigger, better, faster. So innovation at a very basic level is actually bigger, better, faster. It's not always something new. Something new is, of course, most welcome as triggering the whole cycle of innovation, or I would say disruption. A new product disrupts the market. But a product that is being innovated improves the service that is actually being provided. It makes it better, it tweaks it, and in fact is a cyclical process where it all comes together based on customer feedback and customer experience. So today's speakers actually are people who have had that experience. They've been in the middle of that experience of a product that they first launched, and then how that product got fine-tuned into the product that they have today. And I'm sure a year from now, it will be a different product again. The continuous cycle of product innovation will kick in and giving a better focused product that serves the people in a much better way. So the discussion today actually will be not just to hear the stories of our three great speakers today, but also to see or introspect how the same things that their experiences applies to your own business. And if you have some of the people on the panel might actually have gone through a similar process, if you'd like to share some of your ideas at the end of this session, you're most welcome to actually add on to the discussion. And we'll have that session towards the end. So I would like to actually just very quickly introduce the three speakers, but before they speak, I'll give a little longer introduction. So we have Krishnan Menon, who is the founder of BukuKas and Fabelio. Welcome, Krishnan.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Yes, and thank you for being here. I think you have a fascinating story. We are very much interested to listen a little bit in specific about how you look at product innovation, etc. Before you get started, I'll just introduce Sanjay Agarwala, who's here today. Hi, Sanjay.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And Sanjay is the managing director at Eastern Software Systems Private Limited. So they are at the middle of cutting edge enterprise automation solutions, etc. Followed by Sanjay, we will have Mathan Kumar, who is the founder of Sealog. Sealog is a logistics company. Hi, Mathan.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, my
So
pleasure.
what's interesting here is, you're looking at a wide variety of, so you have BukuKas and Fabelio, which has actually a e-commerce centric approach toward what they're doing. They are also looking very much connected to customers directly. So different kind of an experience. What Sanjay has done is actually a lot more broad frame background work of, the infrastructure that goes behind a lot of product innovation. So that's another interesting aspect. And then from Mathan Kumar from the logistics company, as you know, today the heartland of everything digital. If at all digital is connected to the real world, it is through logistics. So if you have Gojek, if you have Tokopedia, if you have this and that, all these products, the interface between the real world is actually the logistics part. If you're moving product, if you're moving service, like if you're on an online booking system, then of course the logistics part doesn't come into play. But I think logistics and how logistics is being innovated is going to be a very important story in the digital transformation in the rural areas, and you're looking at beyond urban cities, etc. It's going to have a huge impact. So we'll hear a little bit about that as well. So again, I remind you, questions in the chat box, please feel free to ask. It just doesn't have to be questions. It could be observations, or you have a comment on something somebody says. Just keep it interactive and alive. We'll be very happy to moderate it for you. A little bit about myself. I'm Sachin Gopalan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Orbit Future Academy, which is a skills-based training company that has just launched last year. So in a way, we are a startup, but we are we started with existing business in play, and we do a lot of work in the digital transformation space because our training is actually facilitating people to do digital transformation, because we train people about skills like AI and IoT and things like that, and entrepreneurship. So how do you put the two together is actually then you have a job creation platform that people are creating jobs in all these new subjects. So that's a little bit about what I do. Okay, on to Krishnan. So Krishnan is actually he's a serial entrepreneur from India, right? He's currently the CEO and founder of BukuKas, which I think some of you may be familiar. It's a simple and easy to use mobile phone application for MSME merchants, and it helps them with their financial activities. He was one of the few people who was involved in setting up Lazada Indonesia. He was the CEO and founder of Fabelio, which is a furniture e-commerce company. And at the moment, you must be familiar that Fabelio is doing a lot. It's doing quite well. And he has also worked with Zalora, C, and Freecharge. So a lot of experience Krishnan brings to the table here. And I think BukuKas is probably the most impactful of them all because of its links to the micro and small medium enterprise merchants, a huge number in Indonesia. And bookkeeping and all the other features that BukuKas provides is a huge, I would say, a leg up into the digital transformation process. Krishnan did a master's in chemistry from BITS Pilani, and then he went to ESCP Europe for a master's in management. And then I think he landed up in Indonesia. So we'll hear about how come he landed up here as well. Okay, over to you, Krishnan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. It's a very grateful introduction. My story quick. It's one of serendipity more than anything else. I have been very, very lucky to meet the right people at right times, and the fact that they have trusted me with my dreams has been very helpful. Be it employees, colleagues, even Rajat sir, Poonam's husband, has been a great mentor to me all through the years. So it's just been a lot of fortunate events. Yeah, I'll just give a quick background. Maybe I'll also share a deck so that it's
Yeah.
easier. Uh, yeah. So I'll just give a quick background of sort of how I ended up where I'm. I'm ending up in Indonesia. I was a student in France. It's a funny story, but I had played poker using my tuition fees, and I had lost it. So I had to do an internship to make sure I repaid before my parents find out. So I came for that. Then I found Indonesia being so exciting and so much. I've been very fortunate to see early days of all transformations, like as in, and that definitely inspired me to just stay out, and I dropped out of college and just continued building stuff, starting with Lazada. All through the years before I started BukuKas, for me, doing something was more because I just wanted to build a business, not because I knew a why, right? Like there wasn't no clear why, but it's more like I'm young, I want to do a business. I'm people are willing to bet on it, and so I give it my heart and soul. So that was more my personal approach. Towards end of my time at Fabelio, was like my pre-exit, I was really starting to ponder the why a lot, right? And it started mattering to me. If I'm going to spend next 10, 15 years, I needed to be in a place where I felt it is going to fundamentally transform millions of people's life. And I always give the Gojek example where there is, I always call Gojek a moment of history in Indonesia. There's a clear before and after, right? Like, and it's even visible, right? So very inspired by stories like that. And while working through Lazada, Fabelio, etc., like you always notice that I mean, my world has always been digital first, right? Like, and that's what comes naturally to me because that's the only thing I know, right? Whereas um, all my suppliers and all my vendors and all these people that I used to work with were obviously no digital or almost no digital, right? And I always struggle with the idea that hey, why are these people not digitizing as fast as they should? Because it clearly makes sense. And that went back to looking at the product itself, right? So if you look at any evolutionary market, you'll always notice that the first set of technology products that are built out are for the more premium user, right? It will be for the more premium consumer. Like if you look at banks and their credit cards and all of that, it always comes out for the more premium consumer. If you look at enterprise, it always comes out to the big companies, the ERPs are served, etc., etc. And Indonesia is at that phase where that space is, there are a lot of reputable, amazing people working on it with great products, but there was nobody doing anything for everybody else, right? What typically everyone tries to do is they take an ERP, convert it into a mobile app, and then ask or a light version and ask all the small guys to use it. But that doesn't work simply because the product is not built for them, right? So this is the origin of BukuKas. We started with the logic of bookkeeping, right? Like we really wanted to pick what really matters. But I'll quickly go through a few of the slides, right? Like, I mean, the level of innovation that's happening in the market is just incredible. I think we're all very lucky to be part and maybe also driving this part of Indonesia and to an extent the world itself, where things are really changing, right? Like now what's happening is what probably happened in the US in late 90s or something like that in terms of internet and how things are happening. So very, very excited about the market. Uh, Again, not much to share there. I'll go more into our product than macros, but something that we started observing, right? So when we started BukuKas, the idea was very clear. Let's pick one battle, which is accounting, right? Now if you look at a normal merchant and you tell him account receivable, account payable, account, people don't understand these things, right? Like people, so we decided to build a product that is like, if you go to a normal guy and you tell him money coming in, he understands money coming in, he becomes richer, right? Money is going out, I'm becoming poorer, right? Like if I have to collect money, I should do it faster. Why? Because it makes me richer, and everybody likes to get rich faster, right? If you have to pay someone, delay it, right? These are basics of everybody. Any one of us who's run business intrinsically understands these fundamental concepts, but they don't understand crazy principles like account receivable, payable, and how your liabilities are, and all of these stuff, right? Like those fly over everybody's head. So we decided to build a product that is really based on simplicity, right, and not based on gap principles, right? So that was the first phase. The second part was how do you distribute the product itself, right? Like, so that is another thing. If you look at typical methodologies of distribution when it comes to SME SaaS, is always foot on ground partnerships, like foot on ground or sales partnership, telemarketing, and for me, all of these channels are fundamentally linearly scalable models and not exponentially scalable, right? So I had to take a step back and look at and say that doesn't work for me because I wanted to do for 10 million merchants, right? In 3 years. So you can't do that if you take a linearly scalable marketing approach. So we have to take a step back and look at other industries for inspiration, right? Like, and the inspiration really came for us from gaming industry. So if I give you an example, Fruit Ninja, right? Like all of us have played Fruit Ninja. Do you ever get a phone call from Fruit Ninja saying, "Hey, why do you try playing?" Right? No. Or do you have the guy calling you saying, "Hey, why did you stop playing? Please try again. Maybe I'll give you 1 month off." No, they don't do that, right? Or there's definitely not a guy knocking on your door saying, "Do you want to play Fruit Ninja this morning?" Right? Definitely not. Or if you go to Indomaret, they don't sell you Fruit Ninja there as a partnership with something else that you buy. So gaming industry fundamentally revolves around a few basic principles, which is early funnel optimization, early value realization, social nudges, creating viral loops, creating retention loops, right? And honestly, I didn't know any of these things. I had to learn these over the last 2-3 years. But to really understand, these are the fundamental principles of building a product that is intrinsically digitally scalable. And I went and hired the lead product of Zynga, who leads our product. So we have a gaming guy building a SME SaaS accounting business, right? So a very different approach. And then came COVID, right? None of us knew, and COVID obviously played a big role in. To all of our lives. I find it very unfortunate how it played out for a lot of my friends. For us, interestingly, it played out fairly well. And as in what COVID did was it made millions and millions of merchants realize that I need to get digitized, otherwise business doesn't work, right? And that played a key role. I'll skip the book. So what does BukuKas really do, right? I mean, BukuKas is really simple. Buku means book and kas means cash. It's a cash book, right? Like it's a very simple way for you as a merchant to know your profits or to collect your account receivable and payable back. That's what it launched as, right? And the key value propositions are you get to save 2 to 4 hours, and you're comparing to a book, right? So you get to save 2 to 4 hours a day. You're reducing errors. Your cash collection is 2x faster, and potentially you have a 20% up to 20% cost reduction. So this is how we started. Now, exactly to such a point, the product is evolving so rapidly. Like we have gone through probably 50 iterations already, or maybe 30 iterations already. I think the number is 28 actually, exactly. So now, like this month, the product will enable them to do inventory management as well. We already do invoicing. We actually launched a whole new product, which is like a Shopify for the same merchants, so that they can create their own shops. Like in 15 seconds, you can go digital. You can have your own digital shop in 15 seconds. It's called Toko. We launched it a month ago, and we already have 250,000 merchants creating catalogs there. So very much the whole approach is how do you build out simple, effective digital solutions so that existing businesses can get digitally transformed, right? But keeping the fundamental points that the user is very different from enterprise or even a SME selling food in Dharmavangsa Square, for example, right? Which is a elite SME. In the world of SME is an elite SME, right? And we're actually building for everyone else, right? Now, the key of doing something like this in our approach is that it's not about launching features, right? There are two ways to build a product, if you ask me. One is, you see many apps, right? Like you will see a hamburger menu on the left top side, or you'll see a plus button on the right bottom side. You click on it, it'll open 20 different options. Create SKU, create invoice, create this, create that, do this, do that, do this, do that. It doesn't work in our view, is because people get overwhelmed, and people, that's not how a human being's flow works, right? A human being, so the way we believe is, you got to put your product, or you got to build a business in by inserting or embedding yourself into the user's flow. And that's the only way that, especially in the world of mobile, that's the only way, especially, I mean, there are caveats to it, obviously. There are reasons for it. One, we don't want to have a training force, right? We don't want to set up a training army of 100,000 people to train 10 million merchants on how to use the product. So that means we cannot sit down and make people do that. Two, our users are not going to pay me $10,000 a year, which can afford me to create this training program, right? Like we're not an ERP or something. So then our only choice, and the right choice, is to embed yourself in the user's flow so much that they discover the feature step by step while doing their activity, right? So there are essentially two flows. There is activity flow and there is money flow, right? And how can our whole goal and the way we think a product is, how do you embed yourself into his flow? Now, I can give you, actually our inventory will be launched literally by 15th, and then if you see it, you will realize that it's very embedded into the flow. How? Because here you don't start with, if you go to any POS machine or any ERP, you always start with creating an SKU, right? You create your SKU 1, SKU 2, SKU 3, each SKU has a barcode 1, barcode 2, and you go through a very series of process, and then eventually you're live, right? And now my whole catalog is live, and now I can manage after I put stock quantities. We take a very reverse approach. We while you're entering your sales, people mark which items they are selling, and this feeds automatically as an SKU list, and that feeds back into your sales. So it's embedded into the flow. Invoice is another thing where you don't go create an invoice every time you make a sale. Rather, you enter your sale recording as you do in BukuKas normally. Automatically, we generate an invoice for you, which now you can share. So it just comes straight into the flow. Yeah. So that's primarily what I had to share very much on this. That just to break it down in simple words, we are a business that is trying to do digital transformation for millions of people who probably have never been digital. Obviously very different probably from other speakers and a lot of your personal experiences. But I think fundamental principle which we follow should be the same that everybody follows, is try to be in the user's flow. Now, to come bring it into an existing company's perspective, like let's say you're introducing an HR app into your company so that people manage their HR better in this world of COVID where there's no attendance, etc. Right? I would strongly recommend first mapping down the exact employee flow on how he checks in, goes out, and then find the solution or build the solution that truly is in the flow if you want them to see adoption. Obviously, the other way is say, hey, if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. People will use it, but they won't enjoy working for you, right? So that's the fundamental principle, is try to be in the flow of the user, whoever that user is, and that would give you the best results. That's from me. Thank you.
That was an excellent presentation. I think, what we learn from this is actually, sometimes out of the box approaches work, right? The first thing I noticed was how you looked at the gaming industry, and you found that maybe an approach of building a different kind of interactivity with the user rather than the boring accounting or finance-based interaction with the user, because as you rightly said, it goes over most people's heads. And if you understand that process, then you look at approaching it in a totally different way. So I give you credit to that. Krishnan, you have.
It is again a thing of necessity for me more because I failed cost accounting twice in business school. So I know the pain point of what it means, and people. I always used to wonder, why are they using all these big words? It's so confusing, right? So yeah.
Correct. So
in fact, Sachin, when Krishnan talked about the hamburger menu and all that, and I'm thinking about all the mobile apps we've done with the hamburger menu, and I'm like, I need to sit with Krishnan and look at my apps again.
We look at that whole thing. No, actually, when you were actually working on your previous products, right, like Fabelio and Lazada, etc., was there the same kind of a thought process then as well, or is this something that you found a new way of?
Honestly, not. I mean, I really learned so much about product in the last year and a half, basically. So historically, I've always been an execution guy. Obviously, at Fabelio also, we always think product, but it was not mobile, right? And mobile is a completely different world from. So in Fabelio, it was more about. It was obviously very much a web business, and we have 28 showrooms. How do you complete the consumer's journey flow from web to going to the showroom to purchase to delivery? So it's very much in that flow, whereas BukuKas is completely different from a mobile app flow, right? Like mobile is, I think, very different from web, and also all of these are very applicable to what your nature of business is, right? Like it doesn't make sense to do, all principles are applicable to where they are.
Sure. So I have another question for you, Krishnan, about what is the role of competition when you're looking at digital product innovation? How much of the competition's work has inspired you or actually encouraged you to look at it differently?
Very much. I mean, I think it's one of the best things to have, right? Like first and foremost, it keeps you on your toe. Secondly, when you see that somebody has done something and it's smart, like if you go back to history of my chat, I with my team, I keep track of not just direct competition, but somebody else who's doing something similar in a different market, or somebody else doing something even different in a different market, but we think fundamentally we can learn from that. And every time you see something, especially a flow or how smart, it could be very little, right? Like how smartly they inserted something that it doesn't feel obstructive, right? Like and whenever I see that, I take a screenshot that this is smart, right? Like so for me, it's very encouraging to have smart competitors who actually push the boundaries of their own thinking. The other part is obviously we are especially in a space where whatever we do, a competition copies it, right? But that's completely fine, simply because we like to sleep thinking we are the guys who innovate the space, right? And then that's a nice feeling to have. You always want to be the guy, but of course we always say if my competition does something smart, I'm going to copy it too, no doubt. Yeah.
Very true. In fact, I wanted to know, what do you think is the gold standard? Which product anywhere in the world, in what you're doing with BukuKas? Is there any product you see that is already there that you aspire, or?
When we, in the exact same space, when we started in India, there was a company, Kathabook, right? They've done a good job. But those changed a lot. That was like a year ago, right? Since then, we've innovated so much that when Kathabook launched in Indonesia, they copied our app, for example. So I think a lot has happened since then. But generally at product level, I mean, there are many inspiring companies that I find. Obviously in Asia or this part of the world, there are very few examples compared to if you look at anywhere from China, India to US, right? Like so yeah, there are a bunch of companies that I find inspiring.
Okay. What is your view on the Indonesia market going forward? Because a lot of your products are Indonesia centric now. So I think you're kind of getting ready to become settled in Indonesia, right?
Yeah. No, we do harbor Southeast Asia ambitions, but very much Indonesia is the golden jewel, right? So and I love Indonesia so much. I see myself here very long term. But yeah, the market is, I think it's exceptional, right? Like just to give you context, because many of us in this call are Indian, right? Like, so when I left for Indonesia, my mom really behaved, and all of you probably same, is your family behaves like, are you going to Somalia or Ethiopia kind of reaction, right? Because what we don't know must be shit kind of mindset, right? Whereas Indonesia has 2x GDP per capita of India, 2.5x of spending power. Today, the Indonesian e-commerce in absolute billions of dollars bigger than India, which is incredible, right? So I am a huge believer in the market. Ride-hailing business like the Ubers of the world in Indonesia is way bigger than India. So it's a brilliant market with much better spending power, much relatively less talent pool available, which gives people like you and me opportunity to do something, right? So definitely it's the place to be.
Any view on the regulatory environment here? Does it concern you, or do you think you are on the right track? What? How do you perceive it?
We haven't dabbled too much into it yet because we haven't launched our fintech services. But I mean, I think again, people like Rajat sir have taught me this is a country of relationships. Very simple. So we've gone and hired the ex-deputy commissioner of OJK as our commissaries, and we're building out a team step by step, and hopefully we can tackle it. I mean, everything is possible as long as we do it the right way with respect, right? So.
Do you see any good competition coming from the banking sector?
No, I actually see more partnerships happening from the banking sector. So a lot of banks will reach out to us very regularly. They mandate from the government to tackle MSME sector, but they are unable to because it's just a big black hole, right? So I see more partnerships and collaborative. Like, we are not a competitor to a bank, and a bank can't do what we are doing. I mean, it's not just about launching an app and putting there, right? Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I see more collaboration and competition.
Okay, that's good. And how do you see the urban versus rural opportunity?
I mean, I think urban is a very good opportunity for sure. In Indonesia, there's absolutely no denying it. It's just that it's cutthroat, right? Like, there's a lot of battles that you have to fight to carve out a piece for yourself. Whereas in the rural, personally, I like it more because after serving an urban community with Fabelio sort of environment, which I loved, I wanted to do something that is more meaningful at a larger scale in terms of impact. So I like it more. Plus, it's very untapped. So it's a harder business market to monetize because ARPU of a merchant is much less, right? Obviously, but we have a thesis that if you lock them into your ecosystem and if you do everything that is needed for them, then you can build out a sustainable business. Big one.
You're absolutely right. You know, if you're looking at social impact, at least here you have a chance to do it because the mobile and internet penetration is much more than most countries. So you can actually have a meaningful social impact program in the digital space, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Very good. So thanks a lot, Krishnan. I think that was very
Thank you.
And we'll come back to you in the Q&A session, which is going on. We just wanted to go through the other speakers first.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just give a brief introduction to Sanjay. Sanjay Agarwala is the Managing Director of Eastern Software Systems. They actually work very much on the enterprise automation solutions part of the business, right? It's mainly about business productivity and growth, diversification, basically scaling. And that's where they come in. Sanjay has 36 years experience with IT projects across the world. Now, he co-founded the Eastern Software Company way back in 1991. So you can imagine, there's a lot of experience, almost 30 years. The company has been very ERP focused over 2 decades, and it has customers across 5 continents. Eastern Software was a pioneer in taking Indian software to Africa as early as 2000. And in Africa alone, it has over 20 countries. ES's own products is called Abyss Frame. It competes with many world leaders. It's used by thousands of customers in a variety of business segments. A lot in manufacturing, distribution, retailing, etc. Sanjay is also an active member of NASSCOM and is a member of the governing body of India's Software Export Promotion Council. So we are very pleased to have Sanjay Agarwala here today and sharing some of his insights, his experiences, and I think more trying to give it a little bit of relevance to what we are doing today. Because, the pandemic has forced all of us into our own forms of digital transformation, not just as technology creators or platform makers or even business people looking at technology, but I think it has transformed the users. That's a funny word, users, right? Because the only two industries that calls their customers users is the drugs industry and the software industry. Everybody else is customers. So going back, so our customers have actually gone through a tremendous digital transformation, right? From the school kid who can't go to school anymore and sitting at home, to the frustration of the mothers because they're used to not having the kids in the house the whole day, to people who used to go to office now work from home. It's big digital transformation, and I think what it changes is your mindset, and it opens your mind into accepting other forms of digital transformation because now there's no other way, right? You can't fight back. Like a lot of people have fought back digital transformation in their own ways. I won't get on Facebook. I will not use Twitter. And all these things have happened. People go through these phases of resisting change. But the pandemic has kind of forced it upon everyone that you have to no choice but to relook at how you interact with the rest of the world using technology. And I think that opens the door for businesses to relook at how do you engage with your customers and how do you serve your customers better. And how do you find ways to not be intrusive as well as create these alarm bells that customers don't want. So that's a fine line between the two. And I think what Sanjay has with this experience across so many countries helps us understand the process a little better. And it'll help us in when we are looking at more digitized versions of our own businesses. We will be keeping a lot of such kind of things in mind. So Sanjay, over to you. We'd like to hear from you on how you'd like. And in fact, feel free if you want to share a presentation deck, you have the share screen on. Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, Sachin. And thank you, Poonam and Infotech, for having me on this great forum. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. And the great conversation that Krishnan shared with us a few minutes ago. So, but before I move on to what Krishnan was saying, I have a moment for Sachin, which is that I guess, like in drugs, as in software, once you are hooked on, buddy.
Right, absolutely right. So that is a reason for calling it user.
Except that I don't have the experience of the other side, fortunately so. But I guess that's where the term comes out of.
Yes.
Okay, that's on the lighter side. But before I share my deck, some incredible things that I thought of while Krishnan was making his very, very interesting presentation was that the question about why people are not digitizing as fast as they can. This question has bugged me or has been on the top of my mind for decades. And I'll tell you two things that happened in quick succession almost about 20 years ago. I was traveling to US at that time, and fortunately, I had the chance to have breakfast with Craig Barrett. Of course, nobody needs to be told who Craig Barrett was, one of the people who led Intel for a very, very long time. And I asked him the same question: how do I take software and digitization and all that to the large masses where the scope for productivity enhancement is so large that the world will change if all those people start adopting technology? His view was that it has to be led by the larger people, something which Krishnan had mentioned, that there was a prevailing view that it has to be, the larger companies will adopt a technology or a trend or whatever first, and over time it will spread to the masses. So that was Craig Barrett's view. Almost immediately in the same visit to US, I also went to see Professor C.K. Prahalad, now who wrote this mind-boggling management book called Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. His view was entirely different. He said that you keep dabbling at the top where the triangle becomes narrower and narrower, you will not be able to make any impact on how the society will move in decades to come. His view was that we need to approach those millions and billions of people who are at the bottom of the pyramid, and there is enormous amount of benefit to be given to them as well as to be obtained through a connect with those billions of people. So tremendous job, Krishnan, that you are approaching those billions and millions of people in Indonesia or in other developing countries where digitization and the benefits of technology have not yet been felt. And what is incredible about what BukuKas has done, that it has reduced the gap to such a small thing. All you need is a smartphone and you are good to go. So tremendous, my hats off to you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Our journey has been more enterprise focused. And if you will allow me, I will share my deck now. What happened here? Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, here goes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
You can just maximize this. You can use the, that's right. Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay, great. So here is a bit of a thought before we get into the detail of what our own experience has been. And I was reading a while ago and I came across this wonderful structure, which I thought I'll share with you, that digital transformation can be built upon three real pillars. One is of transforming customer experience. Second, the customer transformation experience leading to transformation of operational processes. And the third, transforming business models based on the learnings, the experiences that have arrived due to transforming of operational processes. And then you get into transformed business models and almost a new business. So talking of each of these three pillars for a moment, transforming customer experience can be based or can be viewed as three basic points. One is understanding what your customer wants. What are the drivers of that business? How do you ensure top line growth for those businesses? What are those drivers that the customers have, which will help in growth and better understanding of the business? Once you get a grasp on what your customer is looking for, then you can migrate to things like process digitization. In our own case, with a focus on growing businesses, small and medium enterprises across the world, process digitization has formed the base of what we have been doing across business functions, whether it is sales or financials or manufacturing or human resources and so on. Our focus has been on process digitization and process automation. Integration across functions, that is primarily the function of what ERP does. All these things lead to worker enablement, ensuring better productivity, better coordination amongst each other, reducing excess workload, and enabling a worker to becoming more productive and a better contributor to the growth of the organization. Naturally, these things put together lead to performance improvement across functions, sales, finance, manufacturing. When they work in tandem, they work better, they work more efficiently, they are less expensive, and the connect with the customer improves over a period of time in all ways. In many cases, it can lead to digitally modified businesses. How the organization deals with its own customers, how the process improvement or process digitization leads to elimination of all those inherent processes which were written or created when there was no digital. That can lead to new digital businesses, how you operate in your global world, how you relate to your own customers and suppliers, and then enable their customers and their suppliers as well. So this circle continues till the time your business continues to evolve and becomes more productive. In our own case, about a year ago, we were saying that we need to reinvent our ERP business. Our customers were demanding something different, something better, because they had so many of them had become very, very mature users of our own ERP system. They had trimmed down staff, they had scaled productivity levels, and so on. And they were saying that they would like to go to the next level of enterprise automation, of digitization. At that time, just before COVID struck, we were evaluating various options which we would integrate with our own software. But as this COVID struck and the need for process automation became deeper because most people shifted to work from home, we brought in things like business intelligence, robotic process automation, Internet of Things, and so on, and started integrating very, very quickly with the existing ERP offering. Because we could see that not only it will help our own customers, but our own company went through the same cycle that you see on the screen of understanding the customer needs, focusing on our own need of top line growth, and so on. Very quickly, we found that by introducing next generation thought processes such as RPA and business intelligence, we could get much better traction during COVID times with our customers who were dying to improve their own productivity. They had time sitting at their homes, especially the top management had time sitting at their homes to understand what all has been done in the ERP. They were too busy otherwise worrying about operational detail. And once they were able to sit back and they saw the integration of BI and RPA and IoT and so on, they became very, very excited. And I'm going to present to you a small case study of what one of our customers was able to achieve through this next level of transformation. The cycle that went was like this, that there was a phase of discovery, which is understanding market perspective. And if you will note, I'm going to relate each of these things to the case study in a moment. Understanding the market perspective, understanding customer perspective, and ensuring that this understanding is not merely a gut feel understanding, it is driven by data. Using this understanding, this discovery of their own business, leading to a design of a newer prototype using market insights that our customers were able to glean through the new offerings in this specific case of business intelligence, and combine it with their own customers' experience of what they are looking for, based on a prototype and a better understanding of their own customer needs, create a value proposition. And based on this value proposition, create a use case and a capability assessment of their organization on how they are going to adopt to the emerging requirements of their business. Based on the design, you create a launch of the key initiative, create a roadmap for execution, and not only that, as you roll out, like Krishnan said earlier, his product has gone through 50 cycles of improvement. You continuously improve what you are delivering to your customers and move ahead till the time you perfect, or you are as close to perfect as things can be before the next cycle of innovation hits you. So this specific case is that of a white goods distributor in Africa who had been an ERP user, an EBIS frame user for many, many years, a very mature customer, well-trained users. They were completely able to work on all aspects of the ERP that were relevant to them. But primarily the focus was on transaction management. That means entering data and generating operational reports out of that data. Of course, the day-to-day reports or the MIS reports or some strategic reports, all of that was their business, and they were very well settled with it. During this pandemic, they found that the business was getting hit. The stores were not getting any footfalls. Business was coming down, and they were completely stressed because of that. They had been running into some headwinds even earlier, but the COVID times really precipitated this whole stronger headwinds even, and they ran into all sorts of challenges, and they were really struggling to keep things going. It was at that time, fortuitously, for us as well as for them, that we introduced them to the concept of business intelligence. And we worked with them on how business insights can be gleaned through this tool. Of course, we married the BI to the database that we had. And relating it further, the discovery phase looked like this, that the COVID-19 pandemic impacted the business, and they were forced to redefine their goals to ensure continuity on how to manage low footfall. Their analytics showed to them that some of the challenges that they had were customer reach, how to do product promotion because the traditional means had virtually come to a grinding halt, how to ensure product availability. Now, white goods is something that, especially when you are locked up at home, those goods are required even more. But because of the non-availability of opening the store, product availability became a challenge. What also came under a big change was the customer behavior. Customers weren't going to spend as freely as they were able to do at one time. We all know that very well. The needs changed, the demographics changed. Also, some of the products that were hot at one time in the non-COVID days became loss-making. All of these thought processes led to a change on how they would want to do business. So they made some headway, and they said that we will shift the organization from a completely brick and mortar store driven model, an offline model, to an online offline mix, where a hybrid model will become available to their customers. Detailed data analytics also pointed them towards revising their product mix. Even equally importantly, because shipments across the globe were severely hit, getting inventory was a challenge, and getting the right inventory and storing it right was an even bigger challenge. All this was helped in their case through the availability of data on BI. Even further, by analyzing customer behavior, the buying patterns, the query patterns that they were getting, they were able to restructure their discounting policy to increase their revenue and profitability. And in about 2 months' time, they launched their business all over again. They created a hybrid offline-online model, and that led them to a complete transformation. If you see here, it's a little crowded. In the previous year, the revenue growth had been barely 11%. And I've taken the 9-month period up to September 19. The revenue growth as compared to the previous year was 11%. And look at this number, it's a scary number. COGS was 78% of the revenue. Naturally, profitability was under acute stress. The customer adopted digital product innovation at the time of COVID. And if you see, the same graph has been repeated for the previous year for the 9 months. But after the introduction of BI-driven analytics and hybrid offline-online model, the revenue growth has spurted. We didn't take data after September, but even for the 4 or 5 months period that you see data here, there is a jump of 18% as compared to the previous year. And critically, which had a huge impact on profits, the COGS went down from 78 to 68%. Naturally, when the COGS comes down by 10%, profits will zoom. And therefore, very clearly, their adoption of digital and their adoption of innovative way of looking at their data, leading to a complete transformation of the business model, led to not only a revival, but a boom in their business. And this could be one of the many, many examples that we could share with you. But in the limited time that I have, I thought I'll pick up a small and simple example and share it with this group here. Uh, a moment to talk about my own company, Eastern Software Systems. We are present to a very, very large extent in Africa, but also in Middle East, North America, South America, Asia, of course, and now in Australia as well. We have acquired a customer, and others are on their way in Indonesia. We work in Cambodia. We have some marquee customers like the Swatch Group, Tata Steel, Haier, IKEA, Mitsui, Indonesian, Tetra Pak, the Press Trust of India, and so on. We have thousands of customers across these various countries. And our main business line, of course, is ERP. And we are now rapidly expanding our footprint to include BI, RPA, IoT, leading to AI, and so on. Of course, because of these things, we have had to adopt mobile apps en masse, and many, many of our customers are benefiting from these applications. We also work with some partner products where we have offerings such as hospital management software, a DMS, legal systems automation, and so on. So that's all from my side, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was actually, it gives us a very broad framework of, what goes on behind companies, what goes on, what's the kind of thinking that goes on behind the industry, for example. You touched upon some very, core points about how this whole process has evolved across time, and that's very visible from, the presentation you made. So I have a couple of questions which I'll start, and I'll see if there are some others from the audience. In your opinion, Sanjay, which are the most innovative companies that are actually an example of what you talked about today? And we could say that they are the ones to look out for in the next 2 years. Where do we see the right kind of innovation taking place?
I think the innovation which is happening by people such as Krishnan, that is what is going to have such a huge impact. And he gave an example of Khata Book. And just by chance, Sachin, a few days ago, me and my fellow director Amit were talking about Khata Book, and he sent of how Khata Book had been used by his vegetable vendor outside the gate of his colony. Now, what this is the innovation that we are talking about, which is going to impact millions of lives.
Yeah.
The guy who's selling vegetables, what level of education or what level of technology understanding can I expect from him?
Yeah.
Probably barely literate.
Correct.
And the ability of people like Krishnan, BukuKas, Khata Book, and so on, who are able to get into the mind of the user. The fortune at the bottom of the pyramid is happening right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Something which would have been unimaginable is unfolding right in front of us. So people who are throwing money at innovation, large companies, they will follow their own trajectory. Because people like us will not bring about fundamental changes to technology. That will probably have to be done where billions of dollars are at play. But what we are able to use from those technology innovations is to take those innovations to the masses. And to my mind, that is going to impact the quality of life of a vast number of people in the globe. And to my mind, that is the true measure of how technology helps people improving their own lifestyles, improving their own productivities, and generally making the world a more efficient place. For example, one of the things which has bothered me, and I see very limited solutions as of now, is the enormous amount of produce that gets wasted in farmlands across the world because there is not enough ability to store or to transport them to the end user.
Yeah.
every year, for example, the onion prices in India shoot up at the end of monsoon to 100, rupees per kilogram. And when the crop ripens, there are no buyers at even 1 rupee a kilo. How can technology provide an answer to challenges of this kind if innovators can apply their mind to such things and work hand in hand with the farmers as well as with the local and federal governments? That is where we will see the way humanity operates starting to change. If we can focus on this, I don't have a crystal ball to gaze at, but if those kind of challenges can become solved through technologies, I think that would be the revolution that I would like to seek.
Okay, so we are talking about the new emerging players actually spearheading innovation. What's your view on the big companies? The big tech companies. How are they approaching innovation? Is there something we can learn from there? I'm talking about like the Googles, Microsoft, Intel, maybe Facebook, and then you have that technology, the digital side, and then of course you have the Elon Musk kind of companies which are leading innovation from a technology perspective and product perspective. So much is happening. I'm saying if you really follow the news nowadays, innovation is just pouring out of every aspect. The level of innovation has just dramatically changed, right? So I just wanted your view on a few directions, where the big players, because that's more visible to a lot of people. And what's your feel about where they're heading?
There are, in my view, there are two buckets in which this innovation is falling.
Yeah.
While things like Facebook and Twitter have changed the way the world links to each other, the way the world talks to each other. But to my mind, if I say that have they, other than quicker, smarter, faster communication, building communities and linking them together, but the impact of that technology is yet to be felt on the quality of life issues. Whereas people like Elon Musk, who are saying that I will bring EVs to a level where they can become day-to-day commonly available, reducing dependence on fossil fuel to the extent that UK has now announced that after 2030 they will not allow registration of petrol or diesel vehicles. That is another bucket of technology. Okay. If more innovation in that bucket, where challenges that the world faces today of pollution, of environmental degradation, that can take center stage as opposed to a bigger, better Facebook or a faster WhatsApp or a bigger footprint of Twitter. It's great, but I don't think that is going to change the life of a billion people in India, a billion people in Africa, or the millions and millions of people in Southeast Asia. I'm more concerned about quality of life issues, which was taught to me as well as Rajat many, many years ago when we used to work together. So those things which we learned as very, very young kids, really, those thoughts and the importance of those has stayed with me. And I wish that there was a faster way to bring those benefits of technology to a larger mass of our struggling, poorer masses as opposed to more fancy iPhone 12.
You caught on absolutely to the point I was trying to make about, do we really need a bigger, better, faster Twitter or a Facebook compared to other technologies which actually impact human lives? Absolutely spot on, Sanjay. In fact, Elon Musk made a statement, I think it's about a year ago, which really caught my attention, which is he said, like, owning the cars of today will be like owning a horse. That's a statement he made, saying that what we are looking into the future is going to really put the current cars into owning a horse category, which nobody has over a period of time. I think it's about actually it gives you an insight into his way of thinking. He's so far ahead in the way he is positioning his product and his industry transformation that it kind of makes everybody think about what are they missing out, and that kind of a position actually accelerates that whole process of the industry changing because somebody is challenging them. So, there's those kind of mindsets, and people these are the real innovators and leaders of innovation that are actually in other ways, not just through their product, but even where they're messaging and the way they're communicating.
Absolutely.
Are forcing people to rethink what they do, because if they don't, they'll be left behind. It goes back to the same old, the competitive landscape and what are the trigger points for the competitive landscape to, transition. So thank you, Sanjay. I thought that was
Pleasure.
an excellent, not only an excellent presentation, but behind the presentation, the explanation you did, and also the insights you shared was really gold standard. Thank you so much, Sanjay.
So I think it was wonderful that how from Krishnan to Sanjay, it's such a stark contrast in one being an enterprise level solution that has taken, an organic journey and grown with its customers, and whereas Krishnan has just kind of leapfrogged ahead with his BukuKas. So it's a great learning to see the different perspectives of product innovation.
And they're all interconnected. The whole process is interconnected. You need people on both sides. Only then are these possible. These innovations are not possible without an infrastructure that sits behind all of these technologies. So that's actually heartening to know that the communication is going on across people in the sector. Which brings me to our last speaker, Mathan Kumar. I'll introduce him briefly first. He's the founder of Sealog. The Sealog is a logistics company. Tagline, I think, is complete logistics company. We'll hear what he exactly means by that. Okay.
Thank you, Sachin.
They have resources. I'm just going to introduce you first. He has the resources, people, and expertise to help manage and grow business throughout Java Island. Very Indonesia focused. They basically work in the FMCG, industrial and chemical cargos. And I think, this is a starting point where, a lot of product got moved during the pandemic. In fact, the pandemic kind of highlighted the role of logistics in an even bigger way because of the challenges of transportation modes, like flights were canceled. There was a lot of disruption to the way cargo was being moved. Factories were shut down and, supply chains were disrupted. And it kind of gave an opportunity to everybody to relook at that entire industry and find ways to streamline it and find ways to optimize it. Not only from a cost perspective, but also from, delivery lead times and getting product from A to B. And another thing that actually came up because of the pandemic was this entire requirement for logistics trying to be a little bit more closer circle. Like, do you move product from one end of the world to another, or do you move it within your country, or do you move it within your state? And where will this trend go was largely influenced by the pandemic. I wouldn't say just health concerns, but I would also say the restrictions and the lockdowns, etc., kind of disrupted everybody. But I know in these kind of disruptions, from the ashes emerges a new, a new life, right? I think it kind of made a lot of people rethink this entire space, and the product innovation that we are seeing, in fact, and we are going to see in the next 1 or 2 years will be influenced heavily by the situation today. Not saying that life will go back or not go back to normal with the vaccine, etc. That's a different thing. But what the reality we have to face is this pandemic has put us through a cycle of changing things permanently. It has changed the way we look at things. It has changed the way we experience things, how we experience technology, how we use it. I don't think there are too many things we'll go back. We might go back to some parts that we enjoyed, but a lot of things have just taken a leapfrog forward. So, especially in the area of logistics, over to you, Mathan Kumar. And
thank you so much, Sanjay.
Yes, take over this session now.
Thank you. It's great to have you all, and it's one of my best time that I can also talk about Sealog. And it's my pleasure to share how we build Sealog and now where are we and where we are heading. I'll just share my screens.
Please.
Okay, basically, Sealog was being started as a transportation company and an intermodal company in Jakarta back in 2010. So we used to send containers by railway using from Jakarta to Surabaya, and our customers were targetedly like white goods, like we were talking about Toshiba, or we talk about any electronics like LG. We used to work with them, sending from Jakarta to Surabaya. So this was the first part for us. So per day, we used to send around 10 to 15 containers. And that point of time itself, we had the mindset of going green. So that was the first milestone for us. And later on stage, as we go 2012, 2015, we want to build something that has to move on the platform to make that customers should know what's happening behind the scene. Because those days were the platform where we used to communicate only by BlackBerry, email, or and even times there were even customers used to only communicate by fax if we want to pick up a container, or if we want to send a container to a customer place. Every Surajalan or documents, it has to be sent by fax. We didn't have this much of technology that is today been in our hand that during those days. So in this 10 years, we have learned so many things, and we would like to just share you what we have built so far. And coming to a point like what actually Sealog is all about is, we used to send any kind of cargo to any kind of customer's place. And this is what actually we have done so far. We used to provide warehouse for customers like FMCG, name the customer like Pizza Hut, Unilever, or P&G. We used to provide them like cross-dock solutions. And now we are also entering into fresh market. And we are a 100% Indonesian company located in Jakarta. And our offices, one is in Jakarta Utara and one more in Jakarta Bharat. And these are our customers, which we have been worked with them. We work with all type of customers, except we don't do with DG cargo. So some of the customers are also from India, and some other customers are also from Indonesia. We do for retail, we do for manufacturing, we do also for from the product that has been processed as we call it as plastic pellets. That is the first stage of any PE plastics or white plastic, until it's been manufactured to a TV or a refrigerator or anything. Until the finished products, we provide the transportation services. We have worked with bigger companies also from Indonesia, like Sinarmas, Indofood, and everybody. We have Touchwood, we have done everybody, all type of transportations, like container from 20 feet, 40 feet, or trucks from smaller to bigger size. So we are talking about before 8 years. So which until from 2010, 2011, we used to support them with all these kind of technology. But at that time, we had the only one way of communication with this kind of system was sending emails or by telephone calls. So this was totally a traditional way when we talk in Indonesia. Because back in 2000, before 2015, it was all in this point of time. You have to send an email, you have to send a PowerPoint presentation, and later on you have to go to the client, you have to walk with your prospectors or a brochure or anything, then you have to explain what kind of service you're going to provide them. So this was a total traditional way. So to change those mindsets, or to change those mindset of the people, that what we can go digitally, happened after 2015. That is when the era that we talk about, when Gojek and Grab, when they try to change the full prospect of people changing, that was the time. Now going on to the next, what actually we have done when we talk about in recent stages, what actually Sealog has done and what is happening presently in Jakarta. We have changed everything into a digital platform where even we can know who's our driver, who's our rider, or who's delivering your product, or from which store is he buying, or what kind of product is he buying, and how much is the price, and today what is the market price. So these are the things which we have adopted today, because every customer today needs transparency in his business. He wants to know what is he picking it up, and when is the manufacturing date, when is the expiry date, or whether the vegetable is fresh or not, or whether it's right from the farm, or whether it's just been stored in a cold storage place. So these are the things which every customer today wants it. So this is what we learned in the past 2 years. And what we call it as digital transformation is like where a company can be driven by technology by itself. So say, for example, from the time a customer gets like a staff or a marketing gets an order, where it turns into a purchase order or it turns into a bills, and it's been executed and shipment has been done and invoiced to the customer. So this is what we called as digital transformation, because in early stages, we have to get the Excel from the operation team. Then from the operation, we have to move to the finance side. and then from the finance side, then send to the invoice to the customer. So there were so many steps involved. So this is where we used to say to, even today when we hire or recruit anybody in our team, we always train them at least minimum of 3 months, what actually we are using, what is the CRM we are using, what is the ERP module we are using, because without the technology, there's no way of that we can survive in the market in present situation, because every day some new creations or new innovations is happening in Indonesia, and it's really a challenging part. But before, it was like, when we meet a customer, they used to ask us like, how many trucks do you have, or how many containers do you have, which all place do you have a warehouse. So these were the questions by the customer that we are talking about 3 years ago. But today it's not about that. But today they ask like, how many shipments you can do in a day, how many containers you can do in a day. That means they look into that, are you feasible enough or not? So if you're feasible, they look into, are you digitally equipped or not? So that is what I'll be sharing with you all in what we are doing in Sealog as well. Actually, in Sealog 2018 or 2019, I mean, like in between, we launched the application, which where we totally want to have a transparency in the customer system, like the ways of like, where is the driver, what is the position, whether the goods are being delivered or not, whether the goods are being inside the container or inside the truck, whether it's safe or not, what time did he reach, because those time we used to share everything by WhatsApp. But a customer needs everything by transparency. He needs a documentation, he needs a proof, so in where he can have it in his records. So we made an application which can be supporting them in ways of all the transportation needs that they want. So we started firstly with the bigger trucks. So when we started with bigger trucks, then it was like, again, educating the drivers how to use an application, how to switch on the application, how to have a minimum balance. That was a difficult challenge for us, because if every driver is having that much of mindset of having a education, for sure they must have been opened up their own kind of freight transportation system. So as we keep on educating them, it takes us a long time with the driver side. So that is where we started like, okay, we have to go with again with the basics. So we changed from trucks to the bicycles. So which was, we are the first pioneer to open up an application platform for bicycle delivery in Indonesia, and which was very challenging for us. And yeah, touch wood, many people said that this will not happen. And until now, I cannot believe that it's happening. And we have covered so many markets, fresh products. Every day we used to deliver around 70 to 80 bicycle riders used to deliver in Jakarta, Jakarta Bharat, and in ways of Jakarta Uttara. So we carry around 10 to 15 kilo of vegetables or fresh products or provisionals or groceries, everything by a bicycle. And not only this, we are also the first pioneers to innovate like e-cargo bike, which we are going to launch in the next month, and where the riders can even deliver to multiple drop points. So what makes difference between us and Gojek? Why already Gojek is there, or Grab, or there are some many partners also in the field? What makes us different? One is we are eco-green, and second thing is like, we have many riders who are passionate about riding bicycles. And the third thing is like, we have a huge market cover when compared to Gojek, because they are into food, but we are into fresh vegetables and groceries, and we are also into cold storage delivery products. So this is a market category which we targeted. And from transportation of trucks, when I changed to over here, it's because of the ease of digital. Once when the digital becomes very friendly use for you, you're passionate about it, you try to build something which is helping somebody to deliver their product. When we started with only with 2 riders back in 2019, but today we have around 97 riders who do per day around 200 kilometers. So I didn't imagine when Indonesians are very much loving about bicycles, because every time we used to think like, yeah, they are very much interested only in motorbikes. But today when we see that it's happening, and I myself cannot believe that one. And these are the riders who have been active in Jakarta area, and you can all see that. But before, with the cycle riders, there are also some truck riders. We stopped taking with trucks and motorcycles, because we saw the niche market that bicycle is very much helpful, and the pricing is also very much affordable. And this bicycle started gearing up once when we saw that COVID has been come into. So in this between places between from February until this month, the increase of bicycle riders has been certainly a huge one in Indonesia. I mean, like every person today owns a bicycle. And this also gave us a traction for us to gain the market. The best part was the pricing was not equal to a motor, but the service, the KPI that we serve for customers, like one of our best customers, Aiden Farm, who does a vegetable sales also with the online. With them, we give 100% deliverables on time. So that is the best part that I see by using a bicycle. Going on to the next screen. What do we call about digital transformation is like which a company is trying to use a AI integrated registration, might be like your riders or staff or anybody when they're coming for an interview or anything. You can use a AI integrated registration and API based geofencing orders. That's what we are trying to do. Like when you have a truck or a car or might be even a bicycle, when he enters into any area, he can get a order at that moment itself because the orders are already being placed by the customers. And using the social media tools, we are using like Facebook and Instagram. So I hope your company should have a page. It might be a Facebook page, or also it should also have an Instagram also, because today Indonesia looks into it. They first check you not on the Google, they first check you on the social media. Then they see how much support you're given to the customers. So that's what they actually look into it. And the third is the behavioral. Behavioral is something like we talk about push notifications that we used to do on everyday basis. So we have to know what our customers are active. So there are some systems in which we have in CRM and ERP systems, which we use. We know what time is our customer active and when does he reply. So we try to understand their behavior so that we can send the requirement to them at that moment. That's what we call it as a digital transformation in any company or in our company as well. But we still don't know how far major traditional companies have moved into this one. I hope I'm not taking much time off anyone, I guess. And how do we improve the efficiency of the business model is using project management tool. Might be we must have been seen that Sanjay has shared to us before a while in the presentation on how to look into the customers. And we have to first to know what actually is the customer requirement. And then we make a prototype. That's what we call it as using a project management tool to understand the customers. Without understanding a customer, if we build a product and then when we launch it, it's back to ground zero again, or might be even to -5, because you're once again restarting it every time. So from what I see from his experience point of view was a very valid point for us. We have to look into the basic requirement first. What does a customer needs? What does a solution that we can bring him a solution that will be helpful, then to go on for the next stage for the building into a digital way. Because if you build a digital way and then when you put it across, it will be a difficult time. And then we have to use time tracking tools as well as social media tools. These are the platforms which will help the company to build. And the last one is cashless payment. As you all know today, everything they need it as cashless. We have so many, what to say, like OVO, GoPay and everything. And there are companies which provide those kind of platforms. And today we expect those platforms should be implemented in every company, because when there are companies like PayPal, which is trying to merger with the Indonesian companies and make payment so easy with just online payment, I think every companies in today's market should make it like that. Like today we have OVO, GoPay, and there are few like which walk into Alfamart and pay. That's the character of Indonesia, but we should go beyond that one. That is what they made it before was like pay later. And that's what many companies have adopted that one. So any customer can pay later even after if he uses the service or buys anything. And the last one, which I will say about digital transformation in security side, I will say like you should have a VPN based as well as password using authentication. The password using authentication might be like before it was SMS based. Now you have like Google authentication where you can use for sign in or anything. So you can just implement your platform with the authenticator where every time you get a 4-digit code. So that's where you can also have a secured server or a secured system for yourself. And that's it from my side. I think I didn't take much of 6 minutes, I guess, Sachin.
No problem, actually. That was good. Mathan, a couple of quick questions. I'm going to ask you. Your company is called Sealog, and I noticed all your transportation solutions are mostly land transportation. Any reason for the name?
Actually, it was Southeast Asia Logistics.
Oh, okay, not sea as in land versus sea. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, where is your tech development being done? Is it done here or does in India?
It's done in India, actually.
Okay.
Mathan, can I ask you to stop sharing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So your tech development is all being done in
Actually,
India.
we had almost around 3 type of phases. One was first done by a Mumbai-based company.
Yeah.
That is where we first launched with like a non-e-wallet company. So at that time, it was like every customers have to use payment by cash.
Yeah.
Then it was difficult for us because by the time when we launched, naturally, earlier based companies have got into cashless and like scan QR code like that. Then we went on to, again, we recruited a company from Gujarat. So they have helped us to implement the wallet by using the Zendit platform from Indonesia.
I see. Okay.
What I really like about Mathan's story is how he moved from sending containers via railway to now having bicycles to do his.
It should actually be the reverse process, but
that's true. I was going to come there as well.
Innovation of whatever his business has taken, so it's a sea change. That's why it's Sealog.
That's a good play on the word. So, I actually wanted to ask you, you train drivers, you mentioned about how you train them in using the apps and finding out how technology works, because otherwise he's just a driver, right? He just drives the vehicle, he puts petrol, he cleans the vehicle and he takes it from A to B.
Before, what we used to do is like, we used to call the driver. They never used to pick up. So we thought, okay, implement GPS. So we installed around 10 to 15 GPS. Then the GPS person said like, sir, you can know the location of the driver. Yeah, I can know the location of the driver, but I want to know what the driver is doing, because whether he's driving or he just parked it, or whether he's inside the truck or whether he's outside, I don't have any valid information. Then he said like, you have to give missed call to the GPS system. Then it will give you a call back where you can hear the voice, or whether he's inside the truck, or you can give a voice to them. Then I said that, yeah, it's good. But what happened recently is, after that, the driver just parked the truck somewhere and he just walks away from there.
Correct.
So there's no use of tracking. It's like just only like a equipment or asset of a company. We know it is there, but we don't know where actually and what. Whether we call the driver, he always says like hand phones have to be switch on and everything. So they to teach them, it took us nearly 1.5 months to 2 months.
Please don't. Please don't sell this technology to the husbands and wives. Okay, so it's a good point. The point I was making was that this whole process of digital transformation is changing the mindsets of all people who understand now technology has changed the way they are doing things. Simple things that they were doing. So, have you ever considered drones? What is your view on drones?
We have checked with the drones. Actually, drones can be done by JDID. It has been done last year. It was done for a school stationery sent from Jakarta to their from their warehouse from Pluit to Jakarta High School somewhere in Kapuk. They have done it. In our view, we have checked with the government. It's still on progress because they have some rules that the drone should go only into a certain kilometers. We are still working on it. The R&D is still going on.
No, the question is actually, do you think it's a viable option?
It's a viable, very viable option in Indonesia, because in Indonesia, you have around 190 apartments.
Okay.
190 apartments, and you can see that every apartment there are people inside, and every people, those who want to receive a packet or a package or a food or even the catering that we deliver today, it should not be delivered to their doorstep. It has to be delivered only into the lobby.
Yeah.
And then the person has to come down, and then he has to pick up the food. If a person can come down from his lift and go to the parking, he can actually drive to the restaurant or anywhere to buy the food or anything. But when we see that this demand is there, and even a JNE or an online shopping person and everybody, so these drones can be happening in next 6 or 7 months. It's a very impact.
Where will it drop off the package? On the rooftop or right into the balcony?
The balcony.
Okay, so they have like that little bit of a tray or something, and it can drop off at the trays.
Sure. Yes. They do have it. We have tried it actually, but we tried only to the nearby apartment, which is one of my friend was staying, as well as the staff was staying as there. So we tried it over there, but if we want to go to the market, we have to find out the legal restrictions from the Tangerang government, because they have the restrictions.
So from a business perspective, if you were to get into drones, would you own the drones, or there will be a drone company that manages the fleet?
We have to find a drone company.
That manages the fleet, right?
Yeah.
All your other products also, the fleet is managed by partners, is it?
Yeah, everybody we manage by partners.
Okay. So you're not yourself into the owning the bicycles or the cars or the...
Only we own the e-bikes, the e-cargo bikes, which are going to launch next month. So that can carry around 50 to 70 kilo. Yeah. So that is going to be owned by us, and that is totally manufactured also in Yogyakarta. Actually, we thought of importing it from China, but when we saw that Indonesia can do it, then we want to bring it to the field.
Okay.
Actually, it's a very hidden market now.
So, with Indonesia being landlocked, it is a lot of, islands and a lot of transportation across islands. Do you not see any opportunity for, sea transportation using autonomous vehicle, ships and boats, etc.? Is that a trend to look into?
No. Sorry. In that one, it will be difficult type. Honestly speaking, I'll just give you two examples. Yeah. 2010, intermodal logistics, which I was doing, I mean, like from Jakarta to Surabaya, we have to pick up the container and then load it somewhere in Sealog, bring it back to Tanjung Priok, and then put it on the railway platform over there. And then some operator has to check the container, take the photo of the seal of the container, and then place the container in the wagon of the railway. This is what happening from 2010 until 2020. And might be in 2 years if anybody can change it. But whereas when we talk about other countries like Singapore or Thailand, what they have done is once when your load is being done, they do RFID scanning there itself. And then they scan the container, everything. And once the same container passes into the depot area, the dry depot where the railway wagon is standing, the scanning again happens, the RFID scan. So there's no people involvement. And even the operator of the crane is inside the office. So to see this autonomous kind of change, it needs a very, very large time, because again, back it comes to the education mindset of the people. If we want, to change, to say, like there are around 7 to 8 players of private player who own the railway.
Sure.
For them itself, we try to give them where they can operate by using GPS to know the container movement, because from Jakarta to Surabaya it's only 18 hours.
Sure.
To share that movement itself, they don't want to change.
Understood. Okay, I think we just have about time for the session today. Thanks a lot. I think that was gave us a different view and a different aspect into a sector which is all around us, but I think you give us insights to understand it a lot better. I'm just going to have maybe 1 minute, because we're going to close now. We're already over time. If there's any immediate question, I just saw in the chat box that there is Mukesh who wants to ask a question to Krishnan. Is Krishnan still here?
Yeah.
So Mukesh, would you like to just unmute and ask the question?
Yes.
Why don't, yeah.
Hey Krishnan, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, Mukesh. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a HR guy, so that's my same question, similar question to all the participants. How exactly are you addressing the challenge of shallow talent pool in Indonesia, especially where there's a big gap between the demand and supply of tech talent?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, honestly, I have not the best person to answer this question on how to build tech talent in Indonesia. I think, again, Poonam and all these guys know better. I tried at Fabelio. I found it a bit very challenging. So I actually set up the whole tech team in Bangalore. Now, since it's all remote, we hire in different places too. But primarily, like we have hired 35 engineers in a span of 10 months, and because we're a very product heavy business, and for every engineer we go through probably 200 CVs. So it's a bit tight on the ratio of hiring. So we need a very large upper funnel for it to work out, and that sort of pool is not available in Indonesia. So yeah, so we are just doing India actually, but in house.
Yeah, and what about the business side?
Business fully here. I've not faced too many challenges on business front in Indonesia. There are really great people. We have always taken an approach that we like to be an international company, as in we have 5 different nationalities in the company. So we take that approach. Business wise, the whole office is in Indonesia. Yeah.
Awesome. Wish you all the best.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
Does anybody else want to answer that same thing? Maybe Mathan or Sanjay, about talent pool. Basically, these issues about should you be actually having talent in every location, or do we look at a globalized model, or where talent can actually be centered anywhere else, and then we are serving a market?
I would like to take a minute. Not
Sure.
really, it's not a direct answer to the question. COVID, months of COVID changed my thinking completely. Earlier, I was so skeptical of the thought that an organization can work from home or an individual can work from home. I used to find it just a mechanism. I mean, in my cynical old mind, I used to think it's not workable. When you say work from home, basically you're asking for time off. Why don't you just simply say, I want a day off and we'll get on with it? But the kind of commitment and productivity that we have seen from our own staff, and it doesn't matter whether they are based in India or Kenya or Nigeria or Ghana or wherever, has transformed my thinking completely. So, to my mind, it doesn't matter in today's day and age where an individual sits, what nationality he is, as long as we are able to communicate with each other, give clarity of thought and direction, the productivity will happen. Because the person who is working is as much interested in work as you are interested in their work. So, this simple thought of a mutually win-win and a collaborative environment has changed my thinking, and as it has forced millions of people across the world to work from homes and be as committed, probably even more committed, because they are not wasting time in the commute, they are not wasting money in the commute, and so on. And I think this is a great takeaway for me from these COVID times, that talent availability need not be restricted by geography anymore.
Oh, I second that. I second that.
Yeah, it's true.
Very true. It's a roll out of bed and roll into office. That's actually, you save a good, I think I would say, an hour to an hour and a half every day, because it's not just you get up from your table and get into your car, right? You still prepare 15 minutes before you leave. There's a lot of little bits of things that happen in the office which takes away your opportunity to, you could be using it in a different way at the same time.
Except that, sometimes it is good that I see kids of staff members when I'm on a call with them. that opportunity would have never come to me had these Zoom calls and so on not become the de rigueur, they had not become the way of life.
True, you see a more human side of your people.
So that's a very, very pleasant thing as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, great. I think that's about we have the time we have for today's sessions. I'd like to wrap off. If you have any other questions, observations, or comments, please send them to Poonam. We would be, it gives us a little bit of input and on how this whole session and series is going. If you are logging off now, please put in a little comment or maybe a suggestion or something into the chat box before you leave. But feel free to, interact with our team. And I think Poonam has done a great job. Thank you again, Poonam, for putting together a great panel today. And also for the work that you're going to be doing in making this panel available to people on the website and through the social media channels.
Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. I think all your questions were very pertinent and they added to the session and added to our understanding of product innovation and how this is changing how we work and how we change what tools we use within our office and how we think along customer journey. So it has been a very useful session, or this entire session has been recorded and it is live at this moment. And I've already shared the YouTube link with the speakers as well. It will be available on our website and all the participants will get an email with all the details. So thank you all for joining. You can send me the questions by responding to that email. The email ID is right there. So just send me your questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.